And welcome again to another John's Media World Extra Extravaganza. Today we'll be talking about how Trump lost the war with Iran. That's the general consensus. I have a whole bunch of clips to get to backing that up. All right, and we'll start with Malcolm Nance. Malcolm Nance is a former United States Navy senior police petty officer. He's a U.S. intelligence official, expert on U.S. extremism, best-selling author, Ukrainian legionnaire. Qualifications you can't mess with. So Malcolm Nance was on, and he's a regular guest on Stephanie Miller. He was on this morning, and I have a clip from his show's appearance. He really lays it out on the line. He knows what he's talking about, brings up a whole bunch of points that we're all probably trying to coalesce and put together for ourselves. So listen to this.
I mean, we all are just going to have to accept the fact that the United States has just lost a major war with Iran. And that is being objective as it is. The Strait of Hormuz is only going to be opened at Iran's sufferance. They're going to make $2 million per ship that goes in or out. And here's the best part. Trump, not an hour ago, said, well, maybe we'll do cost sharing. Maybe we'll do profit sharing. He did. He just like, maybe this is awesome. God, did he not understand that he is cut out of that deal? And Iran wisely went to the other person on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz. Oman, who was relatively poor compared to the Gulf states, could now bring in, ready? $90 billion a year for Oman and $90 billion for Iran every year, and more than their actual value of oil that they sell.
I mean, after all, there was never a charge to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Never a charge. Now there is. Who won that one? Let's continue.
Higher gas prices. Yeah. We're going to have higher prices for, dollar store stuff because China is raising prices on everything that is built on petroleum. Our generic medicines are going to go up because for almost 2 months, the chemicals needed for generic medicines in India ran out. Everything's going to be more expensive. All of our allies hate us. We expended 2/3 of our precision munitions we would need for a major competitor war like China. We don't have them now. This is impeachable offense. You have to get rid of him now. He needs to be relieved of his command. He is a geriatric old man with dementia who is threatened to mass murder, to genocide someone. No president in the United States history, even the man who dropped 2 atomic bombs, Harry Truman, did that by coming out and saying, we're going to mass murder you. And then who pulled the full taco? He pulled the taco. Trump always chickens out. Look, he was looking desperately for an off-ramp. And there's only one thing that affects Trump, and it is kicked in. It kicked in hard. It kicked in by Easter Sunday. That is money. The amount of money these Gulf states were losing, not billions, they have lost trillions of market capital.
I think it's more clear than ever before, this concept of following, that you're not supposed to follow illegal orders. I have already indications that many targets that were recommended by the Secretary of Defense were rejected by CENTCOM, that they were civilian targets. It is something where, again, I don't have firsthand knowledge, it's secondhand knowledge, but I believe that people are already saying no to the hierarchy.
What Trump had threatened was genocide. Anybody who would have executed that order would have been one of the greatest mass murderers in history. And I was shouting yesterday when I was on talk radio in London, and they were like, well, it's just bluster, it's just blinders. And I go, no, it's the president of the United States threatening genocide publicly. Okay? Therefore, everyone needs to continue on with this impeachment talk.
Thank you.
Because now we don't back down because he's crazy.
And there's quite a list of Democrats that are supporting the impeachment, just to keep that in mind.
this administration is the insane clown presidency, and that we're all in mortal danger by his presence, and that everything he's going to do will destroy a precedent, destroy dignity and decency of the office of the President of the United States. He's being sued right now for this Arc de Trump, which he's going to say, I am not joking, he is going to say is a victory arch for his dramatic, incredible victory over Iran, which, of course, will block Arlington Cemetery from the Lincoln Memorial. The man who fought the Civil War and started Arlington Cemetery in a personal device for Trump's, tiny little mushroom. So, hey, Iran just gave him a comeuppance I'm not sure he can live with. But I think he will step back into an imaginary fantasy world in which he won this war and it was a decisive victory.
Speaking of a fantasy world, I had a conversation with my MAGA friend in Milwaukee. I talked about him often on my old radio show, and we are still friends. We talk about the past without any problem, but when it gets to current politics and policies, forget it. Anyway, here is a text conversation I had with him, and this is my comment to him. You don't understand. No world leader would have said it or done that. He's mad, insane, a sociopath with no concern for human life. That's what made it so dangerous. You miss that. And his response to me was, that's your opinion. I disagree. I call it courage, a true leader. For the first time in 47 years, Iran fears the United States of America. And I wrote back saying, the world fears America. You like that? And his answer, yes. As a matter of fact, I do. We are feared. Peace through strength. If you want peace, prepare for war. I am not kidding. He actually wrote that. Now, what occurred to me after we had done this little interchange, I thought to myself, we might be really happy and glad when Trump is out of office finally, but we've got the MAGAs to deal with. These people are going to be out there. They're still going to be thinking and talking like this. This is so ridiculous. I can't even wrap my head around it. How are we going to deal with these people once Trump isn't in office? We'll see. All right, our next story, we'll go to Fox News. How did they receive all this information, this victory lap for Trump? Well, they weren't really on board. This isn't an AI-generated video either. This is real. This is what they were talking about. So let's check in with Fox News.
I will say that the president's demands, we have not reached any of those objectives. I have full confidence that the president is going to find some way to make this happen. But he said that we want to dismantle all major nuclear facilities. That has not happened. The end of uranium enrichment on the soil, they're still enriching. The transfer of the enriched uranium stockpiles out of Iran, that hasn't happened. The acceptance of intrusive international inspections, they're still not willing to do that. And they have not suspended their ballistic missiles program. They're still firing them off to stop the production of the long-range missiles. That's just a few of them on the president's proposal. The question is the president using this 2 weeks to give our soldiers a break, a rest, to see if we can get this ultimately done? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see on that. Now, here's the good thing about that report. MAGAs get their information from Fox News and other talk shows and a lot of posters that are on Instagram. They're told how to think. When they watch this, we might break through. Let's keep our fingers crossed on this. But at least this was one of the most honest newscasts I think I've ever seen on Fox News. Ever. Let's celebrate. Now, let's go to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. What did he have to say about all of this? Before and after, it doesn't matter when we asked him the questions, It's his attitude. It's the way he looks at the world. And I think this is just incredibly revealing. He, of course, came out and wanted to annihilate Iran. That is truly what he wanted to do. So let's play a cut here, his response to a reporter's question.
Calling on people.
Thank you, Secretary Hexeth. Yesterday in the President's Truth Social, he threatened to wipe out a civilization. That statement elicited a huge response in America. If Iran did not come to the table and make a deal yesterday by the deadline, was the president really prepared to wipe out Iran entirely?
Like I said, we had a target set, locked and loaded, of infrastructure, bridges, power plants. Remember, this is a terror regime, a military regime. Use all of these things for dual use to fund their military, to fund their terror campaigns. We had a lot of legitimate targets. They knew exactly the scope of what we were capable of. We hit some military targets on Karg, which is a bit of a signal. They can't defend it. And so Iran ultimately understood their ability, their future to produce, to generate power, to fuel their terrorist regime was in our hands, was in President Trump's hands. That's why they came to the table. He ultimately said, we can take it all from you. Your ability to export energy will be taken away. And the United States military has the ability to strike those things with impunity. That type of threat is what brought them to the place where they effectively say, hey, okay, we want to cut this deal. Yes, right here.
Yeah, right. It was a very scary moment for the entire world, not just for Iran. All right. So I've got a cut here now. I think that it kind of explains everything, because Pete Hegseth is a Christian nationalist, a dominionist. In other words, he thinks the entire world should be ruled under Christianity, kind of a current crusader. So this is a great comment. It kind of sums up exactly how this guy feels about what he's doing in the Department of War, and why he's willing to go to any extreme to get whatever it is that Trump wants done. Let's check this out.
Our troops, our American warriors, deserve the credit for this day. But God deserves all the glory. Tens of thousands of sorties, refuelings, and strikes carried out under the protection of divine providence. A massive effort with miraculous protection.
There you go.
Dude 44 Bravo spoke for all of us. God is good.
Wow. Okay. So it is sanctioned by God, overseen by God. God is happy with what Pete Hegseth is doing in what I think God would be very proud of, the Department of War. Think about it. Oh, we're not done yet. We have something now from Megyn Kelly. I've never agreed with anything she says, but, this time I'm with her. Yes, strange bedfellows, certainly. But this is a profane rant by Megyn Kelly in regards to what Trump is doing. So I think you're going to kind of enjoy it and cover the ears of your kids if they're listening right now.
Now, as you can imagine, that post did not go over well with the Iranians or with many Americans. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. Can't he just behave like a normal human? I mean, honestly, like the president, 3D chess, shut up. Fucking shut up about that shit. You don't threaten to wipe out an entire civilization. We're talking about civilians just casually in a social media post. I am the first to try to understand Trump and his strategy and to not freak out over his weird social media posts and language that is loose and incendiary. Truly, I've lived with it for 10 plus years. I learned it the hard way when I was on the receiving end of it for 9 months. And truly, I think that was a gift to me in many ways because it helped me really come to understand what he does with his social media. But this is completely irresponsible and disgusting. This is wrong. It's wrong. He should not be doing it. I don't care that it's his negotiation tactic is to kill an entire country full of civilians, men, women, and children?
That's it, yes.
An American president so that the Strait of Hormuz will be opened? It's just wrong. It's not hard to say it. It's not hard to recognize it. I wish he would stop doing this. Like, he can't negotiate without doing this. What does that say about him?
Yeah.
What does that say about the position that our country is in right now in these negotiations? He's got to say this. He can't be a dignified, strong leader without threatening a bunch of war crimes. Like, what is he, Genghis Khan? Like, what is he trying to do? And why can't he do it with strength, threats? Sure, go for it. That don't diminish and demean the United States of America in this way. Journal.
All right, so that's her comment on it. It really is demeaning. And remember what my mega friend had said. Yes, they fear us now. It's peace through strength. If you want peace, prepare for war. And Megyn Kelly is not on board with that. Not a lot of people are on board with that, as you've heard here with all the examples I've given you. And thanks to Malcolm Nance for putting it into words. I have kind of a final word on this from Scott Jennings on CNN. He's the Republican that says the dumbest things ever, but he's getting a lot of press for it. Now, Scott Jennings would have been the last word, but we've got Khanna coming up in just a moment, finally giving the Democratic response, the way the Democratic response should be. But right now, let's get on to Scott Jennings.
I gave him the space to negotiate with the Iranians the best way he knows how.
All right, well, let me just ask a final question, Scott,
Here we
for
go.
the record. Do you think it's acceptable for the president to threaten to annihilate a civilization?
I think it's acceptable for the commander-in-chief to deal with these people in the best way that he can.
Is that a yes or is it a no?
Result.
Is that a yes or is it a no?
So
that's a yes. Is that a yes or a no?
I'm not going to second guess
So
him.
it's a
Second
yes.
guess?
Statement. We now have a ceasefire.
Okay.
Those are the two things
I just wanted to ask for the record.
Yes.
That's a yes on your part.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there. Coming up
Yeah,
next for
so
us.
let's leave it there.
The Defense Secretary.
It is a yes. And these are the hardcore megas out there that we're talking to every day of our lives. Our old friends that aren't friends anymore may still be friends, at least in one part of our life, we're still friends. But that's the consensus on the mega side of the aisle. All right. I have Representative Khanna's most amazing comment about impeachment and the Democratic Party. This is probably the most precise analysis of the Democratic Party I've heard in years, and a position we have taken on this show for many years. So, and it deals with Trump's impeachment as well, which is good. A lot of people are on board. A lot of Democrats are on board with this. So sit back, enjoy, and I think get energized.
You say to people who say the 25th Amendment or impeachment, as we have seen twice before with this specific president when it's controlled by Republicans, that's just not a realistic scenario.
I think you're using things too tactically. You've been so immune. How about moral principle? How about that when a president threatens to blow up other nations, that we have to see some response to saying that we have a higher moral dimension, that there's something called conviction in politics, that the lives of the Iranian people matter, that the lives of people in Gaza matter, that the lives of people in Cuba matter, that when Donald Trump is echoing Gallant and calling people animals who live in Iran, that we will be a Democratic Party who says that is morally wrong. And when we don't say that, and when we hide behind proceduralism, and when we hide behind tactics, and we hide behind the fact that we don't have votes, then what we say to most Americans is we're not willing to fight for our vision for America, for our moral vision. You know who is willing to fight for his vision of America? Donald Trump. And you know why the Democrats keep losing? Because we don't have conviction in our politics. We don't have inspiration and passion in our politics. We've got people there 50 years who read the same scripts, put out the same bland statements. Get out. Let a new generation lead. You've been ineffective. The base doesn't like you. The base wants fighters. The base wants people with moral vision. And the only people the base are more upset with than Donald Trump is the ineffective leadership of the Democratic Party to stand up when a president of the United States is threatening genocide.
You know, I just might put that on my phone and play it for everybody when the conversation lags when you're talking to Democrats, liberals. Oh, that was it, wasn't it? Said it perfectly. We got a lot of work to do. Like I mentioned before, we should be talking about universal health care in this country, which would take care of almost every problem that we have. But we're not even talking about how bad the health care alternatives are that the Republicans have put forward. These are all alternatives that have been tried before. The reason why we needed the Affordable Care Act in the first place. Now they want to put all that stuff back in place. It is outrageous. But anyway, truly, Ro Khanna's got his hand on the pulse of this. I'm energized myself. And I'll leave you with that thought. Thanks for joining us here on John's Media World Extra. Have a good day, and we'll talk again.